The night was quiet in Spokane, Washington. A lonely road stretched through the trees, its edges swallowed in darkness. It was the kind of place no one should walk alone. And that's where she was found. A young woman, lifeless, a plastic bag over her head. But it wasn't just any bag. On the surface, drawn in thick black marker, was a smiley face. A cruel, taunting message. The officers who discovered the scene froze in disbelief. This wasn't random. This wasn't an accident. Someone had left their mark. Someone wanted the world to know. He was out there. And this was only the beginning. Within months, another woman vanished. Then another. Each time, the discovery was the same. The bag, the face, the message. People in Spokane grew terrified. Women stopped walking alone. Families locked their doors before sundown. Parents told their daughters, "Don't talk to strangers. Don't get in cars. Don't trust anyone." But the cruelest truth was this. The killer wasn't a stranger lurking in the shadows. He wasn't hiding in alleys or waiting behind dumpsters. He looked like any ordinary man. And that's why no one suspected him. To understand how Spokane became a city gripped by fear, we need to go back to the start. Robert Lee Yates was born in Washington in 1952. By all accounts, his life seemed normal. He was soft-spoken, polite, and intelligent. He served in the U.S. Army, flying helicopters. He was a husband and a father. To his neighbors, he was the picture of an everyday family man. But behind the smile, there were cracks. In the 1990s, Spokane streets carried secrets of their own. Poverty, drugs, and desperation pulled many young women into dangerous situations. And it was here, in this world of shadows, that Yates found his victims. Most of the women who disappeared came from vulnerable backgrounds. Some were struggling to survive. And Yates, with his calm voice and trustworthy appearance, didn't raise alarms. They climbed into his car, believing he was just another man passing through. But once the doors closed, everything changed. For detectives, the first bodies seemed disconnected. Different times, different places. But then the pattern became clear. The plastic bag, the smiley face, the signature that tied them all together. Still, investigators faced a wall of silence. The killer left no fingerprints, no clear witnesses, no traceable trail. It was like he disappeared into thin air. Meanwhile, Yates carried on with his life. He went to work. He spent weekends with his family. He mowed the lawn, waved at neighbors, and seemed like the last person anyone would suspect. He even attended church regularly. And all the while, Spokane police were drowning in fear and pressure. The public wanted answers. Families wanted justice. And the killer wanted to keep playing his game. One chilling night, investigators finally got their first real lead. A woman had escaped. She claimed she had been picked up by a quiet, middle-aged man in a white car. She remembered his calm voice, his neat appearance. She even remembered the way he smiled. But there was something else she couldn't forget. As he drove, she noticed a black marker rolling around the dashboard. The same kind of marker used to draw those terrifying smiley faces. That night changed everything. Detectives knew they were closing in. But Yates wasn't finished. He still had more secrets to reveal. Because when they dug deeper, investigators would discover something far worse than a series of random killings. They would learn that Spokane's Smiley Face Killer wasn't just targeting strangers. He was living a double life. And the next victim could be closer than anyone imagined. The city of Spokane was on edge. Every woman walking alone at night felt eyes watching her. Every family wondered if their daughter would be next. The police task force worked around the clock. Files stacked high, maps covered in red pins marking where bodies had been found. The fear wasn't just in the streets anymore. It had seeped into the hearts of the detectives themselves. They weren't just hunting a killer. They were hunting a ghost. But ghosts leave traces, and Robert Lee Yates had made mistakes. Forensics teams began comparing soil samples from crime scenes. Tiny particles clung to tires, shoes, and clothing. And again, the soil pointed back to the same areas near Yates's home. Still, no one wanted to believe it. Robert Yates was the kind of man people trusted. A father of 5, a military veteran who had received medals for his service. His neighbors described him as quiet, respectful, even helpful. But behind closed doors, a darker story was waiting. Investigators started watching him closely. They followed his car. They traced his routes. They matched the white car described by the survivor to his driveway. Piece by piece, the mask began to crack. Then came the breakthrough. Forensic scientists compared DNA from crime scenes to samples taken from Yates's property. It was a perfect match. The killer, leaving those smiley faces, wasn't a shadowy figure lurking in the night. He was a man living next door. When officers finally moved in to arrest him, the community was stunned. People lined the streets, whispering, "Not him. It can't be him." His family looked on in disbelief as Yates was taken away in handcuffs. But the truth was even worse than anyone imagined. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered that Yates had been killing for years, not just in Spokane, but across Washington and possibly beyond. His military service had given him opportunities to move quietly, to disappear, to strike without suspicion. The smiley faces weren't just marks of cruelty. They were his way of mocking the world, a sign that he was in control. In court, the details horrified everyone who listened. Survivors spoke of the nightmarish rides in his car. Families of victims wept as the evidence was read aloud. Photos of crime scenes made jurors tremble. But Yates himself showed little emotion. He sat quietly, the same calm face he showed his neighbors, the same calm face he used to lure victims into his car. When the guilty verdict was read, the room was silent. Some had expected tears. Others had expected anger. But Yates gave nothing, just silence, as if the man behind the smiley faces was still hiding in plain sight. The sentence was clear: life in prison without parole. For some families, it brought relief. For others, no punishment could ever erase the loss. In the end, Spokane was left with a haunting lesson. Evil doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it looks ordinary. Sometimes it smiles back at you. And the city would never forget the name Robert Lee Yates, the man who became known as the Smiley Face Killer.